Welcome to the Gamer Recaps. Today I'll be showing you a 2015 survival horror video game called SOMA. The story takes place in 2015, and everything begins with the main character, Simon Jarrett. Simon suffered a severe car accident that claimed his passenger and friend Ashley Hall's life. And although Simon survived, the crash caused him lasting brain damage. Simon consents to participate in a secret experimental procedure that involves a brain scan. He awakens in his apartment and receives a call from David Munshi, reminding him to consume tracer fluid before his scan. Simon then finds and ingests the fluid before heading off to Pace Laboratories. Upon arriving, Simon encounters a closed office undergoing renovation and an unmanned reception area. He manages to find the combination to the locked back door in a journal and enters the premises. There, he meets David Munshi, who assures Simon that the brain scan procedure will be no more unpleasant than having one's photograph taken. During the brain scan process, Simon experiences a bright flash of light and abruptly regains consciousness in a place called Upsilon, situated in the Pathos 2 complex. He has no recollection of how he arrived there or what is happening. Simon scours the area and discovers an Omni tool, allowing him to establish radio communication with a woman named Catherine Chun. She instructs Simon to journey to Site Lambda and meet up with her there. The dire state of Pathos 2, an underwater facility, becomes evident to Simon soon after his arrival. A mysterious, black, seemingly organic substance is progressively spreading across the walls and taking over the complex, resulting in sections of the facility being obstructed and ruined. There are no indications of any human beings living under normal circumstances. Simon does, however, encounter some robots who are convinced that they are human, as well as other robots that assume crucial roles in the story. Upon arriving at Site Lambda and before meeting Catherine, Simon encounters a humanoid creature that gravely wounds her. Simon soon discovers that Catherine is not a flesh-and-blood human, but a computerized copy of a human consciousness uploaded into a robot's body. Moreover, Catherine reveals that Simon himself is not a human, but a copy of his consciousness implanted in a deceased woman's body, Imogen Reed, wearing a Haimatsu ductile suit. It is revealed that Simon's brain scan was among the earliest to be disseminated to medical practitioners and learners for educational and exploratory purposes. However, Simon's duplicate consciousness somehow became spontaneously activated at Pathos 2. Catherine subsequently implores Simon to transfer her into his Omnitool, after which she enlists his aid in completing her life's work, launching the Ark, a simulated reality containing numerous human brain scans. Pathos 2's Omega space gun would propel the Ark into orbit, and it would be powered by solar panels, preserving humanity's last remnants for millennia. Catherine made an effort to transport the Ark to the space gun, but encountered difficulties, resulting in the failed launch. As a result, the Ark is currently situated in Site Tau, a Pathos 2 facility situated at the bottom of a profound chasm known as the Abyss. Simon and Catherine work together to navigate the deteriorating Pathos 2 facilities, including underwater treks between each site, while facing multiple hostile creatures attempting to impede their progress. Simon gradually comes to understand that the black organic substance consuming the facility is actually the artificial intelligence known as the WAU. Additionally, the WAU has uploaded many of the brain scans from Pathos 2 crew members into machines, leaving them unaware of their new form and believing they are still human. Catherine's original plan was to use a deep-sea submarine called the Dunbat, stored in Theta, to lead them down to the Abyss. However, when the sub is powered on, it wakes up and becomes disoriented and frightened, breaking free from its dock and disappearing into the depths. Catherine proposes that they take the Abyss climber rig to the Abyss, but Simon needs a tougher suit to survive the pressure. They find a Haimatsu power suit in Omicron, but it contains the headless body of Raleigh Herber. Catherine suggests scanning Simon's consciousness into a new cortex chip and transferring it to the corpse, similar to what the WAU did. Simon reluctantly agrees, and they successfully transfer his consciousness into the suit using a pilot seat. However, Simon is furious to discover that his original body is still alive and unconscious in the pilot seat. Catherine explains that they can only copy a scan, not transfer it. Simon must choose whether to kill his old self or leave him to awaken in a few days. As they descend in the climber, Simon contemplates the chance that he is the version who continued the journey, while the other Simon remaining in Omicron could equally claim to be the right Simon. Suddenly, they are ambushed by Johann Ross, a former Pathos 2 member who has been heavily mutated from contact with structure gel. Ross appears excited that they have made it this far and promises to make preparations before hurling himself into the abyss. After navigating treacherous waters and battling dangerous sea creatures, Simon finally reaches Site Tau. He must evade a hostile creature controlled by the WAU to reach a survivor named Sarah Lindwall, who is the last living human on Earth. She has managed to stay alive with the help of a life support machine, but is on the brink of death due to the lack of food. Simon discovers that the RK is being guarded by Sarah, who grants him permission to take it. However, Sarah requests that Simon disconnect her from life support so that she can die. While en route to Site Phi with the Ark, Simon's journey is derailed by Ross, who leads him to a hidden facility called Site Alpha, home to the heart of the WAU. Ross explains that Simon's suit is equipped with special structure gel modifications capable of destroying the WAU. However, it's up to the player to decide whether or not to destroy the WAU. Suddenly, the Leviathan attacks Ross from beneath and he is presumed dead. The creature then begins to pursue Simon, but he manages to evade it and continues to Site Phi. Once there, he finds the Omega space gun. Simon proceeds to load the Ark into the space gun, and as he does so, he and Catherine begin the scanning process to transfer their consciousness into the digital paradise. After a blinding light, Simon wakes up in the same launch chair, but the Ark is nowhere to be seen. Catherine also awakens, still trapped in the Omnitool. Simon demands an explanation from Catherine, but she explains that their consciousness cannot be transferred, only copied. This time, the coin toss didn't go their way. As they argue, Catherine's critical systems fail, leaving Simon stranded with a broken Omnitool at the bottom of the sea. The emergency alarm fades away into the credits, leaving Simon's fate uncertain. In the post-credits scene, the Simon whose consciousness was copied to the Ark wakes up in a beautiful landscape, oblivious to the fate of his other self left behind at the Omega space gun. He completes a short survey designed to gather information about the user's current experience and status. Simon is then shown reuniting with Catherine in front of a futuristic city on an island. Meanwhile, the Ark seems successfully leaving a desolate Earth behind as it heads into space, bringing the game to a close. Thanks for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, consider hitting a like button and subscribing to the channel. Be seeing you soon.